quite well known in Karachi and in Pakistan. So I'm here to kind of give my insights and perspectives from, I guess, the UK perspective.
Great. Huda, do you want to?
Sure. So, hi, assalamu everyone. My name is Huda, and I am running a local EdTech startup by the name of e-Magine. Our focus is pretty much to try and provide pragmatic skills, hands-on skills to students, and aajkal jo COVID aaya hua hai, we're kind of facilitating everyone on how to make all learning and knowledge sharing virtual, which we are pretty much doing right now. So, and I'm hoping everyone's here, so with everyone's reputation, just collaborate, brainstorm, think up of ideas, and hopefully we can reach just good solutions to the problems we're facing currently in the education industry and beyond.
Great. Rabia?
So I'm Rabia Saleem. I'm working with the education industry from last 7 years. Currently, I'm working as Chief Technology Officer for Habib Schools and Education Trust. So my prime focus and passion is to bring in digital learning in the schools so that our students could be, explored and exposed to the digital learning happening all over the world. So that is all my passion and my focus. I'm also working as a liaison for a global institute, which is PMIEF, Project Management Institute Educational Foundation. Along with, I'm working as a board member for PMI Karachi chapter as well. The prime focus there is to inculcate project-based learning, experiential learning, and blended learning into the schools, non-profit organizations, and education institutes all over Pakistan.
That's great. Jennifer, would you like to close the introductions with your introduction?
Thank you so much, Zara. Lovely listening to all the other colleagues. So currently, I am with Karachi Grammar School. I'm the inaugural leader in digital learning, and I look at digital learning of the middle section, innovating through digital training. And I'm the program leader for the Cambridge course, Teaching with Digital Technologies as well. Along with that, I have my own organization called the Institute of Skill Enrichment, which is about capacity building, life skills and soft skills training. And we create and provide digital solutions based capacity building for teachers and the corporate world as well. So I'm really looking forward to listening to everyone and learning from them as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's great. We have very well seasoned experts in the field of innovation and education with us. And so let's talk about what innovation in education means to you. I have a very basic understanding of what it is. So if you could elaborate on that, maybe Shazia, you can tell us about how your experience has been with innovation in education and what innovation in education is.
I think obviously we're living in England, and technology-wise we are slightly ahead perhaps maybe of Pakistan, but we still have challenges. We still have students who can't access online learning from various platforms. There are limited resources often, and it's thinking out of the box. It's being creative, and it's not using a device just for them to be on and be given tasks to do only. It's about thinking, how can their skills be improved? How can we help them develop online learning skills, which can be developed into, I guess what I'm trying to say is a shift from educational to work-based skills, so that it will help them in the long run. So we are using devices, we are using a range of devices, and we are finding alternative ways. Just like in Pakistan, we still have to rely on television or other mediums, which is tech-based, but not necessarily online learning devices. So I think as educators, we have to kind of work together as an educational fraternity and find solutions that perhaps are not the norm. And we have to think out of the box. Those kids, there are, for example, at the moment, we're struggling with online classes for students to manage one device and online learning, which is live learning. So if that's not possible because somebody's a family of 4 or 5 siblings and they only have one device to utilize, then we have to think around how can we make that one device beneficial for all, because the reality is that is all they have. That's limited resources they have. So it is about trying to schedule timetable, but also using tools like Seesaw or Google Classroom where they can upload, and telephone, mobile devices. But the reality is, on a mobile device, I read it every day on our platform where we do pastoral calls home to check in with the families. And the response हमें मिलता है कि एक mobile phone है and we have 4 children and वो उसके ऊपर नहीं कर पा रहे. They're not able to utilize it to aid their learning. So we have to flip our approach now and think, rather than them doing the task itself online, how can we give them a project that they can read and go away and do, and then take photos of and upload, or record and upload a video or an audio. So as everybody, you guys know, we all got thrown into this. You know, it wasn't something we pre-planned that lockdown's going to happen and all our plans are in place. Literally, it happened overnight. Everywhere it happened, we got thrown in, and we had to rely on other countries and see how they have developed, I guess. And so we've just kind of, the innovation has been literally, I guess it's being improvising as we go along. You know, what's working well, what's not working well, what needs to change, what do we need to add, what will work for this cohort, what will work for that cohort, because the reality is the same solution is not the right solution for everybody. So that is how we've had to become innovative. It's becoming a community, coming together with all other educators and having those, I guess, intellectual discussions to see what's worked, what's not worked. And ज़रूरी नहीं है कि जो what's worked for me will work for you, and what's worked for you will work for the others. It's about picking and choosing bits and pieces and pulling it together and creating the solution for your organization.
So you said something about, you were talking about how Corona has affected online learning and how it's affected remote learning, right? It's something we had to come up with solutions very quickly. But have you had is this something that's been happening? You come with a global perspective, you come with a perspective from the UK, from outside of Pakistan. So have you guys been implementing these techniques before such an emergency happened, or was this like a contingency plan that was sort of built?
The curriculum has been in place. Just IT curriculum, your online curriculum has always been on place. There's always been a curriculum, but the challenges we face is different people have embraced it differently. It's a mindset. This whole thing of working online or using technology is a mindset. You either embrace it or you don't. It's a bit like look at them and Marmite. You like it or you don't like it. So those who love using online resources, they have ran with it. They have developed. They have excelled. But there are many who haven't, and they have this overnight contingency, I guess, has thrown them in the deep end, and they have actually picked themselves up pretty quickly. But even in the past, it's been something we've been rolling out all along. But the priorities have always been literacy and numeracy, literacy and numeracy. And it's always been brushed aside as it's not a priority. You know, it's a technique to aid learning, but not a key priority. Let's focus on the key priorities. And I personally think at the moment it's flipped. If the computing lead in the past has been somebody who's been passive, has been fighting the battle, trying to push through, has been brushed aside, I truly believe now, post-COVID, it's their time to shine, because people have recognized the importance of this way of working, whether it's been in the classrooms, whether it's been by teachers, whether it's been by leaders, whether it's been by organizations. Pretty much everybody has had to rely on this form. So yes, it has been part of the curriculum. The children have been taught skills, but I really think now it's more about the context, and more people are embracing this way of working, thinking ahead, you know, not just education, but how will this help us in our career path, or moving forward as a student, maybe at university? How can we use a flipped approach where I don't have to travel 60, 70, 80, 90 kilometers to get to an organization for 2 or 3 hours, and how we can perhaps blend the approach where you have the face-to-face and the online. And I think a lot of it is more about acceptance. I remember in the past, if you had an online degree, nobody accepted it. It was considered as a piece of paper that it's just bogus, it's happened, it's not genuine, it's not, you know, it's not reliable, and so many other words were used to describe it. But I truly believe now, moving forward, online qualifications will they will be accepted, and there's going to be a new place for them in education. And the whole, going back to the beginning, it's mindset. This mindset from the top down before it's not the normal way of gaining a certification, but now I truly believe it's going to flip. And we are entering into a new era. And anyone who is in this zone, I remember anyone who we said, who would like to take on computing, IT, tech? Most people will step back of the fear of learning a new way of teaching. If you're a digital native, it came to you. If you were not, it was something you kind of overlooked, close your eyes on. But I think even now, digital immigrants are embracing it because they have to. There's no survival without it.
So, Rabia, Huda, and Jennifer, you have been working in Pakistan. You're working in the EdTech industry in Pakistan. How has your experience been in these past couple of months, especially because of COVID and the whole emergency in imparting education and carrying on with learning and teaching? So could you tell us a little bit about that? Rabia, can you start telling us a little bit about how Habib schools have sort of gotten around this?
So first I'll talk about myself. I guess I had an edge because I'm not only working with the digital learning in the classrooms or with the teachers dealing with ICT as a subject or the digital innovators working in the schools. So I'm also a person looking towards the administrative requirements of a school when it comes to IT infrastructures, capacity building of the administrative peoples working in the IT departments as well. So to look over to both the aspects, when it comes towards supporting or facilitating to the vision which the school carry forwards regarding digital learning, was my and specifically is my job role. So I had a different experience, and I would go with Shazia, what she has just said, that it actually comes from the top. Fortunately, I have been working with the people, especially here in Habib schools, who had actually a vision that we really want digital learning to be the part and the main focus for the school, so that we can prepare our students not only for their 12 years of career in the schools, but we have to prepare them when they will be graduating from the schools for the world they will be facing on, which we are not aware right now. So the positive part was we were already working for the capacity building, which we called as training in the normal words, of our teachers building their capacity on how we can integrate digital learning. But the main advantage that we had was we had already worked on the mindsets of not only the teachers, but all the stakeholders working in the education industry and all the schools, because Habib is not only the school I'm working with, there are other schools as well. I'm working as a consultant. So in that capacity, we were able to work on the mindset that digital learning is not something we should be ignoring to, and we had to bring that in as a main skill, mandatory skills, along with maths, English, and science, etc. So STEM could not be achieved in any of the schools, which is very highly in demand for many schools right now, unless you will be building the capacity on the digital learning. So we were very fortunate that as soon as the lockdown was announced, we were able to switch the entire school online. We were able to have the faculty on board. They were all prepared how to do that because the digital platforms were not new for them. So it's just a new platform that they have to learn, and then they have to carry on their the educational teaching and learning on that. So fortunately, we were not in kind of a miserable position, but I personally feel that in generic, this we all, as I'm a project management professional, PMP certified as well, so we work on risks as well that we have to work on. So I personally feel that as a project manager for our lives and the project managers of the institutions or organizations we are working in, it is our prime responsibility that the risk which is coming towards us, it has to be us who has to convert that into an opportunity. So I guess this entire time, the COVID-19 time, has given us a time for reflection that what we are doing, what is necessary and what is not necessary. And especially for the educational institutions, I am the CTIO of the school. Previously, I was working as a CIO for another school. I personally feel that right now the schools should know that they should be having people related to this kind of a field as well. And it's not new, because to have a CIO or CTIO for a school is a new concept in schools. They could have IT managers who are primarily working for supporting the administrative part or the infrastructure part. So I guess it is us who had to build this opportunity, that we have to think where we are going towards post COVID-19, because it's not the same time anymore. So I guess we should be availing this opportunity and building upon our not only the infrastructure but the human resource for the schools as well.
That makes a lot of sense. So you said that your teachers were already prepared for this situation. They were already trained with, so there was, they had been going through some training, or was this something that was just part of the hiring process, that you wanted teachers who were already trained in? Like, how
from
does that?
last 2 years, we have a program which we called as DLCB, which is Digital Learning Capacity Building, which is a mandatory program of the school. So every year we have 2 DLCB sessions for the entire faculty of our school, which is 150 plus. And we make and tailor that program according to the section, which is the classes needs of the organization. So that is how we were building the digital capacity of our teachers, starting from how to deal with the digital equipments, what are the digital equipments available, then to work on the softwares, which the main, the basic softwares which could facilitate the educational need, and then to proceed it further, bringing in more digital platforms. And primarily, as we are a trust school, so we have to make it show that and it's not only about us, it should be for the many education institutions, that we have to go with free of cost resources first, then to directly jump into any paid resources or paid softwares. So yes, they were being trained, and having the we were preparing their skills, that how they can run things on an online platform. So I guess that was the plus point which enabled us to switch the school within a click, because there was nothing new for them. They were already working on many of the resources, which is the entire universe is now using Google Classroom, Google Suite for Education. They are using Zoom, etc. So we prepared to them 2 years back on these softwares and platforms. So I guess that was the plus point which we had achieved. But then again, what Shazia had said, that it has to come from the person at the top. So the top leader has to have the vision that this is what we have to do and this is what we really want for our students, and then we go backward, then we apply backward re-engineering, that this is okay to achieve this is what we will be doing. But other than the leader's vision, we as CIOs or the digital learning innovators or anybody the startups, the educational companies, they can't do anything unless our leaders sitting at the top designing the strategy and the vision for the school for next 3 years or 5 years. If they are not having this kind of a vision, we as resources can't do anything in the schools. So yes, I was fortunate that I'm working with the leaders who are having this vision. In fact, they were having the vision years back. It was the part of the school strategy, and we were already working not knowingly that we will be facing this COVID-19 in 2020. But yes, our leaders sitting at the top in any education institutes, this COVID-19 has given us the opportunity to reflect back on the school's vision, the strategies where they are going towards, and have to change maybe the way we are implementing the strategy in the schools for the students, because it's not for us, it's not for faculty. Ultimately, we are working for our students. So to make them prepare for this world, we have to reflect that this situation, and have to work on something really meaningful.
So Huda, can you tell us, first of all, can you tell us a little bit more about your startup in particular, because you are running a EdTech startup, and that's something that we are trying to, if you could just start with telling us a little bit about your EdTech startup. Huda, you're on mute. I think Huda is going through some.
Gee, sorry, I was muted by the host. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, great. Zara, in all honesty, building up on what Shazia and Rabia have said, what a term that I particularly liked was, my digital migrants. Doesn't matter which part of the world you come from, whether it be from one of the most advanced countries or even an emerging economy like ourselves. It has been a difficult migration for all of us. And यहाँ पे in Pakistan, as it is known, running an EdTech startup, running anything in an education industry is not the easiest of tasks because our official literacy rate is 2.1, 2.2%, something like that. So we kind of need to build up on that. We need to work on that. And what Imagine personally believes in is that we aren't saying that we are disrupting or replacing the conventional education system. A child still needs to know the basic spellings and basic reading abilities and calculations and so on. What we are saying is that हम जो है साथ में जो है उनको practical skills भी सिखाना चाह रहे हैं using EdTech. Design thinking is something, for instance, that people believe who just corporates, entrepreneurs, and खास करके पाकिस्तान में तो जब तक आप 30 यूनिवर्सिटी में आते थे तो उससे पहले तो आपको सिखाया ही नहीं जाता था. So something what we've done is particularly we've brought design thinking to an elementary and a middle school level as well. कि आपके घर में जो भी चीजें बची हुई हैं, one of the models I personally believe in following a lot is a Google Extra model where your prototype basically has to consist of equipment lasting from under $7. And that is something that we brought with high school, with elementary students. Yeah, आप सबके घर हम सबके घर में होता है ना, card paper, pencil, stapler, rubber band, stuff like that. हम सबके पास होता है. So why not try and create a basic prototype from that? And साथ में आप recycling का भी सिखा रहे हैं, recycling से आप upscaling भी कर रहे हैं. So that's what we're pretty much working on. And with our virtual classes that we brought on, the migration towards the digital platforms has been difficult. But we are encouraging students and parents alike. Hey, you don't need to worry about if your child is, for instance, if you feel is worried losing an academic year, वो तो हर जगह हो रहा है. वो आप Ivy League से ले लें to primary school ले लें, वो तो students are suffering on that altogether. But how about we kind of now use this opportunity to learn more pragmatic skills, such as design thinking, such as supporting your concept. अगर आप for instance Microsoft Word सिखा रहे बच्चा को, तो आप उस बच्चे को बोलेंगे Microsoft Word पे सिर्फ आप टाइपिंग और वर्ड आउट और बेसिक चीजें नहीं सीखते, आप साथ में रिपोर्ट राइटिंग भी सीख लें, कहीं ना कुछ कर लें. And hopefully, inshallah, down the line when internships do open up, and I'm hoping that parents and students will also start understanding the world of trying to avail international opportunities as a virtual assistants or subject होते हैं, which you can get on from anywhere, and then we're freelancer, Upwork और ये जो सब हैं. Maybe they're trying to also create more of an influx on these platforms कि भाई थोड़ा सा साथ में job experience भी होता रहे, and that's what we're hoping to achieve. And what I just a closing note on this point, I love how Rabia mentioned, she was her school was inadvertently in a way preparing their students and teachers alike for what is to be, no one expected COVID to take over the world. But the fact of the matter is that unfortunately remains just a very small proportion, a handful of students. क्या flipped classroom में कितने लोगों को करेंगे? तो यहाँ पे एक चीज where teachers, administrators, parents, and educators all definitely deserve a massive amount of credit. The way they, within a space of few days, they were able to manage to come on onto this digital platform, and somehow they're working tirelessly to try and get this done. But साथ में आप students को भी तो acknowledge करें. They unfortunately have gone very much under the radar. उन लोग की एक लाइफस्टाइल काइंड ऑफ सेट है ना कि भाई हम जो है सुबह में जाएंगे, हम बच्चों के साथ, हमारे फेलोज के क्लासमेट्स के साथ मिलेंगे, थोड़ी बहुत मस्तियां होंगी, एक ग्रुप लर्निंग एनवायरनमेंट है. And unfortunately, उनकी lives तो at least we as adults have been able to a certain extent comprehend that. But those kids, especially under the age of 10, 12, haven't been able to get that. So for them, I mean, the fact that they are also trying to play their role in coming on to this now flipped classroom wala model using whatever means, Zoom ho, Google Classroom ho, Microsoft Teams, Seesaw, jo bhi ho, matlab credit to unko bhi aana chahiye na on all of this as digital migrants.
But isn't it so that like ऐसा नहीं हो रहा है कि ये बच्चे they grew up with as digital natives and they've grown up with devices in their hands since they were very young? So hasn't it been easier for them to adopt to these things, or is it a issue that's come up?
I personally feel from the experience that I've had in so far कि हमारे बच्चों को मतलब आप सबसे महंगा गैजेट दिला देते हैं from your laptop, tablet, smartphone, whatever. Problem ये है कि जो आप digital natives की जो बात कर रहे हैं, I personally feel and I have a feeling a lot of people would agree with this is कि बच्चों को जो है मतलब for them using a digital device, smart device is just for entertainment purposes. Social media has had a boom in the last decade and a half, especially. Like, I don't remember हमारे childhood में as recently कि we were allowed so much. I don't think I had a cell phone at the age of 15 or 16. वो I had to share with my parents कि ओ लव्स के ट्यूशंस पे जा रहे हैं तो आपको एक sort of shared experience मिल गया. But otherwise नहीं, I feel children have had a bit of are facing considerable amount of difficulty क्योंकि उन लोगों को समझ में नहीं आया कि भाई हम online आएंगे कैसे. दुनिया में बहुत सारे हिस्से हैं. Personally, I did my master's by distance learning from Chicago. So for someone like me to come on to this digital platform, EdTech learning में मतलब कुछ जैसे इंसान भी जो EdTech में इतना engaged था, for the first few months of my masters, I was actually almost, I felt my life was in turmoil क्योंकि मुझे online learning का मकसद ही समझ में नहीं आ रहा था कि होता कैसे live classroom चल रही है, आपको assignments चल रहे हैं, live discussions चल रहे हैं forums पे and ऐसे we use GoToMeeting. But it was kind of difficult. So try and think if someone like us who have dedicated our lives to this industry, if we're facing consumer issues, so the students, irrespective of whatever gadget you give them, you may give them the best of the best. They themselves, so education में तो थोड़ा वैसा, so they will face a difficulty. That's a bit of a challenging time for everybody.
Jennifer, can you tell us a little bit about how your experience has been over these past couple of months? So you keep switching place.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
So, so just building on most the key points have already been discussed by the three colleagues. So, as Rabia mentioned earlier, it's not that a lot of it is not just crisis management. I think for many schools and in fact for the entire world, when this crisis came, everyone started getting their heads together to form some sort of a stratagem to manage this crisis. However, other than crisis management, for us, it was a skip, hop and jump situation, simply because as colleagues have mentioned, we were already on the path of digital learning, which began 4 years back. And I feel one key element, as Shazia mentioned earlier, that there's just one device. So if there's a family laptop or if there's a family iPad, then how do you bifurcate the time? So I feel the first prerequisite for any IT intervention or innovation of any sort is the hardware investment. And schools and institutes need to have a strategic plan about what they're going to do about it. If you don't have hardware, then how are you going to take your classes or go on with it? And that is why, and because everyone is trying to manage the crisis, hence they're trying to come up with ways and trying to blend and flip lessons in order to make it a pleasant experiences for the teachers and the students. However, for us, we were already on our paths. We were using the G Suite to the full capacity. Training of the teachers, we have a weekly CPD session. We have weekly CPD sessions which are digital based and teaching and learning based. Other than that, what we really wanted teachers to have is not just to have someone in-house training them concurrently, but we do believe in exposure, sending people to digital conferences abroad and then bring that learning back home and share it with other colleagues. Along with that, I think the PDQs laid the foundation of it. So we have these professional development qualifications from Cambridge that the school invested in along with the digital setup initially 4 years ago. And I feel that when you are taking that whole course that allows you to write and reflect and to think about technology, to do the audit, to understand the hardware, to understand how to make learning visible, how to make learning active, that made it very easy. As far as I'm concerned, I am basically a literature teacher. So I've been teaching for 10 years and I'm just good with the toys. I'm just good with the gadgets. So it's more learning
I think
on the job and then
much of my
I think I can relate from this tech interview we taught on the iPad. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. So that's fine. So I'll just switch the video off because the audio is more important. I'm having some connectivity issues. So you see, I feel that whether we start our journey 10 years back, whether we start our journey 5 years back, or whether we start our journey now, what is imperative is that digital learning and online education is going to be the norm. Education pre-COVID and post-COVID is going to be monumentally and exponentially, diversified after this whole experience. So obviously the people and the institutions who started the journey earlier, owing to the vision of their leaders, they handled it better. But it's all right if someone started their journey this year with the COVID experience. As long as they've started the journey, I think that is important, because every principal, every leader in education is thinking about how to make learning work remotely. So we did it through the help of Google Meet first. We tried Zoom, the G Suite, and along with that, I feel having policies in process now, when the pandemic started, leaders did have.
Jennifer, we can't hear you anymore. We'll just wait for a minute. Okay, I think she'll join us. Okay, she's back. I'm sorry. You're on mute. Jennifer, you're on mute.
Yeah. So I needed permission from host. Yeah. So what I was saying was that whether we started our journey years back, a few years before, or now, the point is the journey globally has begun. And because I was also enrolled in an online qualification along with my master's, so what as a student, what I can share in terms of online learning is that, for instance, I'm watching a video that the teacher has uploaded for let's just suppose corporate finance. Now, if I don't understand something, I have the luxury of going back to that video 17 times to understand that 5-minute part of a 45-minute video. In class, no teacher physically is going to explain that to me that many times if I am a special needs child or if I'm a slow learner. Also, from a student's end, what I realized was that, especially we do MUNs, and doing MUNs was a very interesting experience as a language teacher on the Zoom platform, was that students who are introverted or who are shy, they really came across, and because they feel very conscious when they're speaking. For some students, it's a struggle to even raise their hand to speak. But on the online platforms, the introverted learners and the shy learners came across as prominent ones, because there was no one judging their body language and things like that. So I felt that it has its pros and cons, and agreeing with Huda that not to replace the conventional teaching styles, but I feel the future is in the blended approach and the hybrid approach.
Yeah. So, like you've been talking about how your school has taken initiative in, training teachers and training students in, sort of using these digital platforms and in online learning. But what is the scope of a startup that's coming in as an EdTech startup? Do schools approach these EdTech startups and sort of partner with them? Is there a sort of program in which you guys do that, or look for EdTech startups that can help facilitate these things, and you guys don't have to do it? Yeah, that kind of.
Thanks for that question. I think Huda would agree with me. I think, and also as a school, I feel that even when I'm researching, the research first goes international and then goes national. And then I think the phase is local. So I feel that there is a significant lack of collaboration among schools and local EdTech startups. Like, for instance, even when we go for training, we felt with the PDQs, or when we're buying all these resources, as a school, that's how it's been. We're always looking at international resources. So through my organization, what I've been trying to do is trying to create some sort of a bridge with that. And I feel that what schools need to do is try and form some sort of capacity building opportunity within the national scope. So there is a lot of scope. There are a lot of EdTech startups coming up. And what we have designed is that A was the school element. So I was trying to crisis manage the school situation and then how to keep my organization afloat. So I just, and just out of generosity and because of the economic situation, I feel the biggest thing is how to keep yourself busy, especially when school's off. So we had to come up with generous free training courses for everyone just to get everyone in the loop of it. Because like how I think Huda mentioned earlier, as digital natives, it's easier to get on Facebook and do a Facebook chat session, or Facebook is now also outdated for seniors like us now. Younger generations on Instagram and Snapchat. Nobody wants to take a session online. So it requires a lot of convincing to do. So I feel more collaboration is required from the schools and to partner with EdTech startups to make it a country-wide unified success.
So Huda, do you want to add to that? Like, what is the scope for an EdTech startup in this post-COVID Pakistan that we are in? You can't hear me? Yeah, Huda.
Hi, sorry, you need to let us mute and unmute ourselves.
Yeah, the host keeps staying with our mics.
Exactly. Yeah, I think, Zara, I'm going to completely agree with JJ. It was Jennifer, sorry, to a certain extent. What I do think is that यहाँ पे EdTech startups have had a bit of a struggle. In essence, कि उन लोग को जो है इतना acceptability नहीं मिली है. And you can't technically blame the schools either, because the schools have a fixed conventional system of running, and it's been successful. It doesn't matter what board you are following, Inter ho, Khan ho, Metric ho, yeah, Cambridge, IB, whatever. They have a fixed methodology. They've been working on that. Sadiyon se they've been following that board, and for them it's pretty much okay. So I think schools, we kind of need to get schools and EdTech startups along with mentors for these startups, all on the same page. It's not just someone believes in my vision and they're ready to back me up all the way, and inshallah someday my startup's going to become a multi-billion-dollar organization. I mean, while definitely that's everywhere organized aim, लेकिन हम लोग का साथ में mission क्या है? हमारा mission ये है कि जो है we want to again supplement conventional education. We want to make that slightly upgraded. We don't want to know that, I mean, yes, the fact that, for instance, we're learning in geography that Pakistan has 5 major rivers. That's fantastic. But those rivers के आगे तो मुझे बताया ना, ये तो मतलब my granddad, my great granddad, everyone's been learning. So how about we kind of build up a little bit on that? And we tell them, अच्छा कि ये rivers से अब हम जो है ये पानी के जो है हम systems जो है ये irrigation systems बना सकते हैं. इस तरीके से हम लोगों को support कर सकते हैं. And you know हम जो है water facilitation, water cleanliness facilitation facilities हम बना सकते हैं. Encourage our students from that. हमारे पास alone in मतलब हमारे पास इतने individual cases हैं of billions popping up. For instance, Liari se were talented singers nazar aa gaye. We had Malala come up. We had like other people from areas of the country that you didn't even know existed to a certain extent. Ke bhai itna talent hai hamare paas. Why not give those people a chance? Your background right now should not be the main focal issue. We are pretty much focusing on becoming global citizens. And that is what we're hoping to achieve. As a global citizen, how can I facilitate my country, be an ambassador for my community, be an ambassador for my country, and collaborate and brainstorm with ideas in different parts of the world? ये जो भी global conferences होती हैं, that is pretty much that is the whole objective, right? To try and get everyone on the same page, shoot ideas, brainstorm with ideas, and then come up with something. This is where I feel EdTech startups do need that provision, do need to come on the same page. I'm sorry I kind of diverged off topic, but uska bolne ka maqsad ye hai ki get everyone on the same page, let everyone share their ideas, and साथ में फिर आप एक, obviously, for instance, if my startup is better than yours, that's okay. You obviously have some ideas which I haven't thought of. Maybe अगर हम साथ में जो है my startup may have slightly networks और कुछ ऐसे करके, and आपकी ideas में थोड़ी और pragmatic solutions और how about we collaborate all of that and try and fulfill that? Because हमारा Imagine का एक बहुत ही ज़रूरी tagline बनाई है, and that is something I believe from the bottom of my heart, even when I worked in the education industry, like I've been part of it for almost a decade now. And एक हमेशा चीज है कि yes, let the students' talent grow. Let them have the ability and the freedom to dare to imagine, think outside the box as well, and become these global citizens. Because ये for my future leaders ही है ना. Why are we letting our country, which has so much talent, so much potential, become one of the worst? We consider as one of the worst countries in the world.
When we're talking about a countrywide approach, ये भी है कि Pakistan has almost 40% of our youth is out of school. This is a very sad reality. But do you think with the rise in, also ये भी है कि there's a digital divide. Of course, we've been talking about kids who do have access to these things, people who do have access to devices, and they have access to the internet and electricity. But a very large percentage of our population has issues with this, and it's a challenge for them. So how do you think innovation, when I used to think of innovation in terms of, internet-based learning, but how do you think, is innovation something other than that as well? Can we have other approaches that sort of also include, is inclusive for these people who don't have access to the internet?
Absolutely, why not? नहीं, absolutely. I mean, I love the way you brought it up. कि innovation is एक हमारे टाइम में मतलब हम भी ये सोचते थे ना कि innovation is यार online learning की सिर्फ करनी है, उसके अलावा हमारे पास कोई option नहीं है. Having said that, I think innovation तो हो सकता है ना. वो Google X का जो model, जब Google X वो बने थे, goggles बने थे, no one expected that इस $7 के अंदर आपकी prototype बनी है. And उन लोगों ने Tom G वगैरह ने क्या किया था? Basic equipment लिए थे. So innovation, if you look at something, the greatest of tech giants, Facebook हो, Microsoft हो, जो भी हो, eventually they started all from simple garage using some of the most outdated equipment that probably we can't even imagine using today. लेकिन अगर हमारे घर में simple basic चीजें हैं, for example, I decided to use a small pipe or a straw or something like that, and I decided to get a small water holder, even if it's just a small mineral water की plastic की bottle. If I can use those things and kind of make a sort of a shower handle or perhaps a water facilitation salination area, why not do that? Innovation तो वैसे भी बन रही है ना. I don't necessarily need to know the conventional skills around that. I can just believe in doing some simple strategies. I agree, digital divide बहुत है. और आजकल कोविड के उसमें हम यही सोच रहे हैं कि digital divide है तो हम क्या करेंगे, कैसे करेंगे, दुनिया ये सोच रही है. But then also let's think a little bit outside the box.
But how do we get, for example, the government started this thing where they're doing televised learning. I think there's a TV channel जिस पे PTV पे हो रहा है.
Tele channel क्या tele education है कुछ ऐसे है.
So what do you think is the scope of that? Rabia, can you tell us a little bit about what you think? How would something like that?
I was just going to say that Rabia would be probably a better bet to elaborate on this, considering she's already been facilitating this.
Rabia, you're on mute. Oh, sorry. Do I unmute her?
So I was muted by the host. So I'll just before giving the answer to this PTV thing, I would just tell about two more things which was there in the discussion. One is what is actually the innovation. So innovation is not basically dependent or is all about bringing in digital learning or change in doing the system, because that is just re-engineering of the existing systems. So innovation for me is the change of the mindsets of our students, faculty, and the people who are leading these kind of changes as well. So innovations comes from there. Secondly, the role of EdTech startups, there was a comment there by Rabia and Fahad as well. And I would strongly agree to that, being the administrative person in a school, while I'm dealing with doing the research for bringing in good digital resources for my school students, etc. Because I do know the need. For this purpose, I personally feel that we should have some kind of a forum, a central point, or somewhere where being a person who's doing this kind of a procurement for school, I should be able to go there and search for something. Okay, so this kind of EdTech startup is available, in Pakistan, because being sitting in the school in the administrative position, and many more people like me should be giving this kind of an opportunity to our own people, to the national people and the national EdTech startups, because post COVID-19 we will not only be dealing with the change norm, which will be the normal norm of running the operations. It will also be about the economy of our country as well. So to deal with these kind of things, I guess, yes, we should give the chances to our own EdTech startups instead of going to Bet London and bringing in the resources and the companies from outside Pakistan. We should give the chances to our own people, our own startups and our own companies, so that ultimately and unifiedly we can support the economy of our own country. One, but for that, even myself, I struggle a lot to bring in my own people, my own country startups, to support my own school. Although I know Asfar from NIC, so I get to know many about many startups from NIC Karachi, but we should have somebody, a forum could be built. Yellow pages are there across the world, which shows about the company's information. So maybe we should have something like this here in Pakistan as well, so that we can bring in our own people. One. Second is that as Rabia said, that many schools are closed right now. I am sure that many schools would be in a search of something better and economically better as well. Many international solutions are now available free of cost. For example, Zoom is there. Google Meet is available to Google Suite for Education, which is a business tool, and it's a paid tool. But many international startups or the companies, brand companies, have made their solutions free of cost. So I guess this was their marketing strategy, and that was the reason we just shifted to these kind of tools which were paid initially and not now. So I guess the role of EdTech startups come here, that they have to think in a way which could facilitate us during these challenging times of COVID-19, so that our relationship would be even stronger. Then comes the PTV part. So the people who are not having the internet facilities, or there are many people who are having a single gadget at home, and they have multiple, obviously they have more than one children. So to have online education for them is really difficult. So when PTV was planning for this, I had some conversation with a person in TCF, and I was I had attended few programs on PTV home as well, the morning shows there, where we had discussed about the challenges which the education institutions are having. So maybe the TV is kind of a resource which is readily available everywhere. So that was the point where we could deal right now only with the students from from the rural areas, or people who are from Kachi Abadis, who are not having these type of digital tech resources. But yes, the schools, as we had done, build some kind of an hybrid model where we are not entirely dependent upon a digital learning model. So basically it is an online learning model which is not entirely going on digital resources like Zoom or Google Meet. So there's some kind of a communication and building up resources on our school websites, on the WhatsApp groups, or educating our parents. And even more than this, our social responsibility as a school was also to build a positive environment for students. Like Huda said, it's really difficult to bring students on board at this point in time, especially when they are not having these kind of resources at homes. So as a school, it is our responsibility to build a positive environment, a productive environment for students, so that they can come along with us in this journey and make it happen. And not only students, a challenge would be to bring the parents as well, who are not as young as as we are, who are good with the technology, but the parents for whom these technologies are a new platform, and it's quite challenging to make them learn about this thing. So at this point in time, hybrid model would be the best one, where we are not only dependent upon a digital platform, we are working on building the soft skills while like, promoting or taking along our teaching and learning with the students, because yes, we have to take teaching forward and we have to educate our students, because I don't know when the schools will reopen. Right now, we are just getting to know it will be open by July, but I don't know, like, what the time will be, like, bringing it to us.
21 tak, there might be some, I'm not sure about this, but I heard that 2021 tak, there might be some, like schools might not entirely open until then. And that's a very like scary prospect, but that's
really
that
a
also,
critical thing.
Yeah.
In USA and Canada, the schools are closed till October or November. So I'm pretty sure we will be like, going with something similar like this. So I guess as a school and the EdTech startup companies could collaborate on a single platform, and we can work towards like, building some kind of an hybrid solution where we are not completely dependent upon the internet or digital learning or digital equipment or digital technology, etc. But we are like, facilitating our students or like, the families from every single background, because I personally feel that there could be many schools whose background is not from, a very kind of wealthy thing where they could afford multiple gadgets for multiple students and multiple children. So, and I guess in this, NIC could play a huge role, because NIC is, and I truly, is kind of dependent on Asfar and NIC Karachi, because they have given me especially, many good companies, references, which I was in contact with, and we were working together, like, pre-COVID-19, and they were really fine. So maybe you could be the people who could build a centralized platform where you could connect the EdTech startup companies with the schools who are actually searching for it. Because at this critical point, we don't have time to do kind of a detailed research, who is there, who is not there, what is available, what is not available, especially when we have international solutions free of cost. So to boost our own companies, we should have this kind of a platform where we could like, collaborate people like Huda or people like Shazia, like, who are actually trying to work for Pakistan. So, this could be our main focus, and this could be an opportunity we can create from this risk.
It's a very interesting thing you said about the yellow pages and a consolidated platform, because that's exactly why even the whole purpose of this talk today is because we're building up for the coming weeks in which we're going to have an education challenge. And one of the biggest reasons for this is that we want sort of to consolidate and collaborate with all the EdTech startups in Pakistan, sort of bring them together. And what we're trying to do is we want to find the top 25 EdTech startups and sort of, collaborate with them, build on their ideas, listen to their ideas, and we have like amazing prizes for them to sort of fund those ideas. And so that's something that NIC Karachi is doing with the Ministry of IT and Ignite National, the fund. And yeah, so
I'm looking forward towards it.
Yeah. So what do you think such a platform is going to create change? Like, which is it going to be an important sort of step towards?
Totally agree. Why? Because now, even like, pre-COVID-19, school had realized that yes, we had to have like, the new kind of learning. STEM learning was like, very famous in schools. Schools are now trying to build fab labs, which are maker spaces, rooms, a place where we can have experiential learning. And they are trying to bring in new kind of digital learning in the classroom, which is not kind of conventional and not only digital. So it kind of a like, hybrid thing inside the classrooms as well. So like, people like me, if I had to search something, yes, I had to do, we have the research and learning development hub as well, like, in the school. And like this, I am pretty sure many schools would be having this, but to like, kind of something where other than these top 25 startups, if we can have something as a centralized part, depending upon different industries. For example, if I belong to an education industry and I'm working with universities and schools, so I should be directly going to that platform, searching for the education industry, and can search, okay, so I'm searching for somebody who could do this for us, etc. So I can just drill down to the education industry and search for the startups who are available, could contact to them, etc., etc. And from there on, we can go forward with the things. So I'm pretty sure if we can have this kind of a platform where we have the information, their skill set, etc., many schools, many education industries would be benefit from it. And yes, the startups or the edtech companies or mature companies who are who are actually working since many years in this edtech and the school part education industry, if they could also start thinking and strategizing something as the international companies are doing, making things free or at a minimal cost. So re-strategizing their economical part or the costing plans, etc., that could not only benefit them, but to the education industry at this point in time when mostly schools are struggling with many other things as well. So, I guess this would also benefit the education industry to a huge extent, not only now, but in many years to come, which will be coming for us, inshallah.
So yeah, I think we have run out of time, and if you guys want to continue, we can continue, but
I had a point in my mind because I was listening to everybody and I was picking up all the buzzwords about collaboration and edtech and hybrid and equality, and I was going to say we are at the moment planning return and recovery to school. Hum log plan kar rahe hain ki when they are opening schools. Some schools are already opened, and moving forward from if we look at edtech businesses and from educators, we are looking bottom up. And we flip it now and think about leaders' perspective and how they have to plan. There's a lot of noise. When once we've gone onto this online platform, there's a lot of noise. In terms of noise, what I mean is because there's a lot of stuff out there. As everybody was mentioning, who was speaking, Rabia, when she was talking, there's lots of free international tools out there which we can access. Now, what happens is when you're not a digital native and you're not, I guess, highly experienced in running a school, digitally running a school, when there's a lot of noise, there's confusion and chaos in your mind. And in terms of planning and strategizing, you do need to have some experienced, I guess, experts around you who can advise you. So going back to, when we talked about, I think Huda was talking about edtech collaborations, I truly feel that is really important because when there's a lot of noise and you don't have that support network, you can't plan. Even now when schools are planning, we can't take the whole school net. I mean, a school will not operate like it used to. The new norm is not what it used to be. It's going to be different. And even now, it's very much about you have the educational bubble, and then you have the social bubble, and how do you keep your bubble intact. So at the moment, we're planning no more than 10 to 12 children per class. That means if you've only got 10 to 12 children per class, the whole school can't return at the same time. So moving forward, we are going to be heavily reliant on digital learning still, because let's suppose your year group, I'm going to give an example of we're opening year 6 in a couple of weeks' time. And if they come in, I guess 50% will be in, 50% will be learning from home. So now you have to manage tools, the online and the offline. And as a leader, you have to plan for it. And in each classroom, you can only have a certain number of children. They need to have social distancing in place. There needs to be all the protocols in place. So it is getting quite complex to bring everybody back from online to offline, but it's not happening as we want it to happen. It's happening in a different way. So the collaboration is really, really important to help this, and it is the mindset. So a lot of leaders who don't have that mindset in terms of their vision is not clear and their mission is not clear with online learning, they will find it challenging. And I guess NIC and all of you guys who have that experience in being pulled together in one community will provide that support. And I think as Rabia, you were saying that on the in the yellow pages or whatever hub it's created. It's very clear with the descriptions as to what you have to offer. But any startup, regardless, will go through different layers, because whatever you produce will have to be evaluated, will have to be implemented, will have to be re-evaluated, will have to be redeveloped, because the whole purpose of, if I'm a head of a school and I pick up a startup and I pick up a tool that I want to aid reading skills, for example, it's going to be, it's not just one aspect. I want to see how does this tool reduce my teacher's workload, motivates the student, supports the parent supporting the pupil learning as well. So there's a whole 360 that has to happen. And you have to have had the on-ground experience as a leader in order to be able to evaluate. Because if you're a leader of a school who doesn't have on-ground experience, who hasn't been in touch with the teaching and learning for a significant period of time, you are not in a good position to make that decision as to whether that tool is the right tool for your organization. And I believe a lot of leaders are sitting at the top that often don't have the ground, real hands-on experience. I'm being quite bold saying this because the reality is, and they select things based on the outer layer that they see. And when they implement it, they're not listening to the teachers, they're not listening to their advisors as they may I guess, fully have, well, they should, and sometimes can make the wrong choice. And I don't think any tool is the wrong tool. It's not the tool that's the problem. It's how you utilize the tool that's the problem and how you implement it effectively. Any tool, if it's implemented effectively, will have a good output. And it's your role, if let's suppose we're talking about keeping our EdTech local, and I truly believe that's a good idea, because why go international if you can produce it in-house? But we have to have the mindset to expect glitches. Look, we're online now. Sometimes the tech works, sometimes the tech doesn't work. So when we go digital, you have to have that mindset. Problems will occur, but that's okay. That's the first layer. Let's get over it. We can communicate with whoever you are working with those glitches and to make that product better and better. It was or is will not be the same product in several years' time, because it will evolve. And when we look at this competition that's coming up, and whoever pitches, I think that's what we have to have in mind, that is this product going to be used, oh, it's very jazzy, it's very, you know, it's eye-catching, it'll infuse the child, but does it actually aid the learning? Will it actually aid the educator or the teacher? Will it help the leadership collect data that they need to collect? And will it make a difference in accelerate the learning of the organization, or will it kind of just be, I guess, what I'm trying to say, fluff, which has been put out and doesn't really have the same impact? So that's my kind of view. I mean, this is from I guess I'm talking as an outsider, because we work with lots and lots of tools. We invest a lot of money in tools. And sometimes a lot of people say, you know, we wasted this much money, we bought this, it doesn't have impact. I always say, let's step back. It's how we have not upskilled ourselves enough to be knowledgeable about this tool to implement